The great Nancy Mace. This is a big day, and I'm extra thankful that you would come in tonight. Lay it out for us what has happened, and does it feel like this is a finally moment, or not quite yet?
It feels like we're making history for survivors, for women who've been fighting for justice for decades. And this was a historic vote today to release the Epstein files. Almost every single member of Congress on the Hill, except for one today, voted to release the files. And I met with the Epstein victims this morning, and I told them I thanked them for their courage. To have the courage to come forward, it takes a lot out of you. There's personal risks, there are professional risks to it, and they put everything on the line for this.
This is personal for you, isn't it?
It's deeply personal. I am a survivor. I've talked about it extensively. I had a speech on the floor of the House earlier this year where I detailed some of those abuses. And for me today, this was really symbolic, not just for the Epstein victims and what they're achieving with this vote, and hopefully the vote in the Senate and gets to the president's desk as soon as possible, but for the women out there like myself who haven't gotten justice. This is a moment that gives, I hope, all of us hope across the country. I mean, it's it's been a very emotional day, but it gave me a little bit of hope that maybe I too, and the women I'm working with in my case, might one day get justice also. You
know, in listening to some of the victims today, I was struck by not just the deep passion for wanting justice, but also the cathartic nature of what was being said. I felt like it was almost therapeutic in some ways to get out there and say, we finally feel like we are being heard, and that justice, at least in a small measure, is finally going to happen for us.
Being heard and being believed. Because as a woman, when you do come forward, and I'm literally living this in real time, you're smeared, you're defamed, you're sometimes sued. I've been sued twice this year by folks because I came forward to tell my story. And that's what happens. That's the risk that you take, and not everybody can withstand that storm. So as a survivor, I am deeply grateful for them not sitting down, not shutting up, and fighting for themselves, because that means women across the country can also have the courage to fight for them. And they were giving a voice to the voiceless today, to so many people that need it.
Which is so important. Let me share a little sound. This is the Speaker, Mike Johnson. He wanted to be careful, but he also made the point today that this is an important step forward. Listen, get your reaction on the other side.
We've got to make sure that we disclose the names of anybody who aided or conspired in any way with Jeffrey Epstein. But at the same time, you've got to make sure that innocent people are protected. So we have to do this in a way that doesn't violate victim privacy, that doesn't create new victims, that doesn't disclose the names of any whistleblower or informant, that causes the release of grand jury materials or child sexual abuse materials, or undermines our national security.
Want to be careful, want to be transparent at the same time, though.
Well, thankfully, the discharge petition doesn't do any of those things. Thankfully, it does block the release and redact child sexual abuse material, images and videos. Nobody should see those things. It does protect names of victims by redacting that information. There are no national security risks unless you're trying to hide maybe potentially who might be one of the predators involved in the sex trafficking scheme. And I think we have to look at this from the outset, too. How do you have over 1,000 victims and only one accomplice who's not even in prison for the sex trafficking and assaults and abuse? And these women, I wore white today. I wore white today to show the innocence of lives that were stolen. Some of these girls were as young as 14, and they're never going to get their innocence back.
Did you talk to the president? It took him a while to sort of say, yes, let's do this. He's on board now. Have you talked to him?
I have not talked to him since I called him and asked for his assistance to get a young woman out of Virginia brain surgery about 2 weeks ago. He stepped up to the plate and within a few hours got her approved for that. The very next day, I had another constituent issue. I had a young woman who was in a prison in Bosnia. I again had to call the White House. President Trump stepped up to the plate and helped me rescue this young woman out of prison, who was a simple passport issue. But he's done a lot for women, and I'm deeply grateful for his leadership.
And I'm deeply grateful that you would come and spend a little time with us on this enormous and I think, big day for the country. Thank you so much for spending time tonight. The great Nancy Mace.